to your place of origin or to the nearest convenient parallel dimension.
Whoa. Just hold up 1 minute there. It's not who you're gonna call, but it's who you're gonna listen to. And if you ain't afraid of no ghosts, stay tuned for the EGH Paranormal Talk Show. Hello and welcome to the EGH Paranormal Talk Show, live and exclusive on Pulse Talk Radio. How is everybody doing? It is Friday the 27th. I don't feel like I've got any sound, but I must have, and I don't know why. It's Friday the 27th of January, and once again I am joined by my wonderful co-host, Mr. Simon Cardy. How are we doing?
I'm really good, mate. Really good. Busy week, but really good.
Well, that's what you want, isn't it? Welcome everybody to the show. How is everybody? Hope we are all doing good. It is bloody cold out there. It's bloody cold out there today. But we're doing all right. I've got a stinking headache. Can't seem to shift it. But you know what? Hey ho. Hey.
By the end of the show, mate, be gone.
I hope so. Or it'll be even worse. One of the two.
Could be.
One of the two. How is everybody? Let us know in the chat if you are listening on Pulse Talk Radio. Please, if you want to join in the conversation, you're more than welcome to join us over on Facebook and YouTube. Just look out for Pinky and Perky the Ghosts, and that's your logo in. You are in this vicinity to put your questions to us or anything like that. And if you want to, I think the mobile phone has kicked on. Am I connected to Bluetooth? We will find out. No, I'm not connected to Bluetooth. So just for a moment, there will be no calling in, but you can still WhatsApp us, or you can send us a text message if you want to 079 444 35529. Okay, so if you want to join us, put a note. I think I've even got that. Haven't I got that going along? I hope this is the right mobile number. You can contact us at info@essexghosthunters.co.uk or call 079 444 35529 if you want to, and hope
if it isn't the right mobile number, somebody's going to get a hell of a lot.
Exactly, yeah. You can just start sending them all text messages and everything. But look, we've got loads of people joining us today. We've got Ryan is there watching, Deborah Pitt is watching, Stephanie Coulson is watching, and Kev the Witch. I haven't seen that name before in the chat, so welcome one and all. I want to sort of what I want to do is somehow, while I am talking to you, I'm going to try to multitask, and I can hear every woman out there going, that is not going to happen. I'm going to try to connect the Bluetooth as we talk to it, and I'm going to try and talk at the same time and make it look good that, you know, it's working. But Lucy is watching as well, and guess what? It's connected. Somehow I've done it. But we are going to be hopefully playing you a little bit of audio later on regarding the Enfield hauntings as well. Because last week we was talking about poltergeists, and there was a let's just put that in there. Hi, I met Simon in your fabulous shop in the week. Love my new Oracle cards and the model of Hearn. What Oracle cards did we get, Kev? What Oracle cards did we get? Earth Magic. Wonderful cards. Absolutely the best cards. You won't go wrong with them cards. I've used them for probably about 15 years. I've got enough sets behind me, and that is the one that I always default. So if you are wondering what all the chat is about, we obviously there is a spiritual shop that me and Simon own. We are based at White Elm Garden Centre over in Bicknaker in Malden, and it is CM34LR.
Right.
Or you can join us on. You can, if you can't get to us because you live too far away, if you go to www.si-russ.co.uk. I wish you could have made me an easier email to read out, but I shall pop it.
That's not my. You have to work with somebody.
Yeah, I think so I will pop it in the chat for anybody who would like to see it. But no, thank you, Lucy, as well. Thank you for your lovely dream catchers and crystals from Cyrus. So if you want to pop over, please pop in and see us. Just like Kevin did, popped in to see us, have a chat. We're there to chat. We're not there just, if you don't come in and buy, it's not what it's about. We started this shop for people to come in with their paranormal, information, their stories, their problems.
The good stuff. There's good stuff as well.
So always, if you want to pop over, you're more than welcome. But let's get on to tonight's show. And we was talking about sort of poltergeists and Helfanog Farm last week. I've done a lot of research into it this week. I have listened to the whole BBC, whatever you call it, podcast or audio book with Danny Robbins.
Yeah.
If you haven't heard it, you need to go and listen to it because it is a fascinating story. I even went the long way around to work this morning just so I could finish off the last episode to get to talk about it on tonight's show, because I do think that, not to say this is only my opinion, because I've listened to it, I think it has answered a lot of questions. I do think that it's answered a lot of questions that I was mulling over in the week about what a poltergeist is. Now, I think they've definitely over-exaggerated the word poltergeist on this plane, on this story. Okay, I don't think there is, whatever you're calling a poltergeist. For me, even when if you're listening to Liz giving her accounts, there is nothing there that a normal spirit wouldn't have done. They had nothing majorly moved. They had, the only thing that was really odd to me was the electric bill and the meter turning around. That was, the most.
Wasn't there an oil-filled radiator that got hot and there was no oil in it?
They never spoke about that on the show. She never said anything about that on her testimony. Never said anything about an oil-filled a radiator.
I read an account of that.
So I may sort of. Yeah. I can't answer that because I haven't heard that her saying about it. But they did bring her in, and they did a lot of witness accounts from. They did have issues with, they've spoken to neighbours, they've spoken to plumbers that went in there, they'd spoken to everyone that had gone in there in the local area, because it become a very famous story within Brecon. It was
exercised 100 times, wasn't it?
14.
Oh.
14 times it was exercised, but when we say exercised...
Well, you probably mean broccoli, yeah.
No. Their exorcisms were virtually house clearings of all time, of every time.
Right, okay.
When I would say there was one, I do believe there was one priest that come in
at the
from...
end.
No, the one at the end was the final gentleman was a medium that was called in from. He investigated the Royal Bank in London.
Right. Okay.
Where the royal family keep their money or whatever. He come in. He was the one that they contacted because he'd just worked for the Queen's money, so to speak. So he come in, and he was just a medium. And how he cleared it was just to tell the story.
Right. Okay.
That was it.
Okay.
But I want to sort of pick it apart. I really want to pick it apart. I want to shred it to pieces. Obviously, they're going to only tell you the best bits. There's going to be other things that went on within that. Colts. That's the one, Ryan.
Coots.
That's the place.
Yeah.
Coots. So that was haunted, and they called this gentleman in. So if there's anybody in the chat that can do a quick Google to see who investigated this place, this is the medium that come in at the end. He had a funny name. He did have a funny name. Loads of people are joining us now, so let's just do a quick call out for everybody that is joining us in the chat. Marianne Dixon has joined us, Sandra Arnold has joined us, and Scott Pollandine has joined us. Can't wait to meet you, Scott. I know you're coming to an event at the end of March, so it'd be really nice to finally meet you in the flesh rather than talking like this.
But Scott's been at 30 East Drive, the Poltergeist house.
Yeah.
So he's probably going to have a bit to say on here as well.
Yeah, so hopefully he does. So let's start off with the basic start of this story. Okay, so go on, Simon.
So, are you taking a Kieran O'Keefe approach to this story, or are you taking a
places? I think there is more evidence. Obviously, I'm only going to touch on it. Okay, but if you actually listen to the podcast and listen to even Liz herself admits at some points that it goes over the top because you are in the moment.
Yeah,
she admits that.
I get that. I do. Get that.
So when I say I just think is what they've done is they've taken a story and it's just grown out of proportion. Very much so. There's nothing in the story.
That story wasn't there before they got there, was it? So
yes. Story's been there. The story has been there for this length of time. But there's two potential answers to it. Okay? So how it was ended was the medium that come in that investigated this place, Coots, told the story. That's what he did. He told the story of what went on. Okay? And that was it. It all plateaued. They all went their separate ways, blah, blah, blah. Okay? And that took 7 years to get to that answer.
Yeah.
Okay? They'd had, rightly so, exorcisms gone in there, but when we talk about exorcisms, no different to what I would do in a house clearance. Yeah. Walking through with sage.
Yeah.
One of the priests that worked in Jay's favourite location, Abergavenny. So he was called in. He took his time. He worked on it very structurally. He never just went in on the call. He worked with the family. On the way to the location, so-called owls hit the vehicle. Flying animals, birds hit the vehicle on the way to the location. So let's just start off with they move into this house. They move from wherever they move to. He's an artist. Move into their dream home. Okay? It looks beautiful. Bearing in mind that the person before had no paranormal activity, and the people living in the property now, which stands today, have no paranormal activity.
Okay.
So for 7 years, we've got a bracket of window where something has gone on.
Something's happened.
Yes.
Definitely
Whatever that.
happened.
So whatever has gone on, but what drastically went on within that place?
Well, from the accounts that I've watched and what I've read, maybe it doesn't seem, of course, of a lot what you're saying over 7 years, but I would imagine it's pretty awful to be living through anything of that at any spate of time if you are going through that sort of experience.
Exactly. I think you've hit the nail right on the head. It must be awful.
Yeah.
So they rent the property. They don't own the property. They rent the property. So they could leave at any time.
Right, okay.
So 7 years it took for them to leave. If it was that goddamn awful, I would have been out within the first year.
But I know you said that they were renting it. They didn't. They bought it. They couldn't. We were in. Yeah, they did. It's here.
No. She said it was categorically her on the thing said we was renting this place from the Holborns, which was the previous owner.
You might be wondering why the family just didn't simply move out. But at this time, the UK was struggling for a recession and one of the worst property slumps in the country's history. That made it impossible for the rich family to move house. There was no other option to stay and deal with that. So
they stayed for 5 weeks. They stayed at the mother's house, which was less than. All did. They all did. They all did.
Right, okay.
They all went, stayed there. Nothing went on. So why not stay with the mother? The mother come to the property and it all went wrong because the boy spat at the mother. His mother come to the property, and the boy spat at the mother. And this is when the priest said,
"Was it
no,
Eddie Burks?
Pardon?
Eddie Burks."
Yeah, the funny name.
It was thanks to an exorcism by Eddie Burks that
the
war come to an end. He concluded that a house has had a pre-Christian presence, whatever that means, lurking within it. He attempted to move this presence on, which seems to have worked, and the activity died down.
And all he did was tell the story.
Okay, yeah.
So the when they use this word exorcism, it makes it sound so much more drastic than it actually was. But
I do understand.
When the first people they brought in were just a paranormal team that lived in Brecon, and they had the best night of their life.
Well, probably would. But we're saying that, but then obviously I was thinking about it. Where was the house in America?
Amateurville.
No. The one that
the Conjuring House.
The Conjuring House. That went on for 6 or 7 years. And
but this is what I'm saying. I think you get.
I have good times and bad times. But it does seem to stop for a while for whatever reason.
And I get that. But there was. So they lost multiple of animals. Okay? Because they bought a farm. They had pigs, chickens, dogs. And they all died. Which they all put down to hauntings. Okay, so...
Yeah, you probably... Yeah,
all the animals had died. But if you look into the Brecon Beacons post, or the because obviously Wales is a massive farming industry, this was made a big thing of. Okay, this was made a big thing, and animals were dying here. But the whole of Wales had an influx of poison. It wasn't just that farm. It was every farm was losing animals. And what they were doing is any animals that were kept together were all contracting it at the same time. So it wasn't just it made out that when the digging was done by Danny Robbins, that if you looked at the paper articles around that time, it wasn't the only farm that was suffering from animal deaths.
Right, get it, yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So the animal deaths wasn't necessarily a part of the haunting. Could have been. I'm not saying it isn't. But the pig went absolutely stir crazy. It was described as attacking them, foaming at the mouth, things like that.
I remember seeing that on the. I mean, I watched this program yonks ago, but it's either on Channel 4 or Channel 5, and I can't find it on catch up. But it's this story. It definitely is.
Yeah, and that was sort of not. It was played down, okay, because you could have had, a rabies outbreak, but the whole of Wales was suffering at that time. But unknowing to me, and I don't know if you know that, but if you type in the Welsh Chernobyl, it fits in to Brecon.
Okay.
From the fallout of Chernobyl, that part of Wales was hit hard by something to do with Chernobyl. I haven't Googled that, but Danny Robbins told me to Google the Welsh Chernobyl, and it will come up. Yeah, however you say it. So we've got that bit that's being taken sort of around this, once again, they've used it and they have dramatic, what's the word I'm looking for? Dramatized the situation. Wrongly or rightly. Okay? Now, they moved the boy out. They sent him away. They sent the boy away because he got aggressive. But is how I would, you take the words of the paranormal investigator, you take the words of Kieran O'Keefe, and you take the word of Danny Robbins. Now, Danny Robbins had a lot of dealings with Liz herself. And he said the one thing that he couldn't categorically deny, that when she spoke about it, she had fear within her voice. Yeah. So you have to take that into account. As far as I feel, you have to take that into account of that fear. Yeah, because it is fear.
Yeah, I expect it's. I don't know. It's probably the snowball effect that something starts and it snowballs. I get that. I do get that.
So what went on? Okay, now to be fair, within the whole story, there would nothing that would ever be frightening to me that I haven't heard. If I'd woke up and they said my washing machine was on my kitchen table, then I'd worry. Then I'd begin to feel nervous because it's moved my washing machine onto the kitchen table. But nothing really went on apart from sounds of people running around up and down the stairs. Okay? That's the major story of this.
Yeah, okay.
That was probably obviously the electric meter going round, whizzing around. I get all that. It must have been weird because you couldn't, and they had people out. They had the electric company coming out. They had it coming out, and they couldn't find fault with it. So how I see this playing out is that they'd moved from the hustle and bustle of town into Brecon's beacons.
Yeah.
Now that must be a proper culture shock. Culture shock.
No, because she was Welsh, wasn't she? She was actually Welsh.
I don't know. I'm not 100% sure. They didn't really touch on that.
100% Liz as well. She wasn't.
to be fair, once you listen to the accounts of everything, she sort of begins to live with it. She sort of begins to live with it.
Which I think you probably would, though, wouldn't you?
Yeah, but I think he was the one that had the problem, and I think he was causing that domino effects, like you've just said. I think he was going through midlife crisis. I think he was really struggling because his work had dried up. They couldn't afford to pay the £700 quarterly bills. They couldn't. Yeah, probably. Yeah, that's a month. Not quarterly. But they were, everything was getting on top. He'd run out of work, and no. I don't think she was. No, she couldn't have been English. She couldn't have been Welsh.
I'm sure she was Welsh.
Because the next door neighbour, when they turned up into the cottage, the next door neighbour come and he moaned because he went, some English people have been tooting my sheep and scared my sheep. And they went, I am sorry. And he went, you English people say sorry for the most stupidest things. You should be saying sorry for shutting down our coal mines. So that was the first meet of them. So, not to say that she wasn't, but that was how it made you feel within the documentary. Within the documentary of that story. And the most drastic thing that I witnessed was him. So we've had an exorcism come in. They come in because it got too much, cleared it down, blah, blah, blah. Now, Liz went to a local historian to see if there was anything that had gone on within that area. Okay, everything that had gone on in that area. And she did a lot of digging. So she dug in to Mrs. Holborn, which was the previous owner, which never witnessed any paranormal activity. But Mrs. Holborn wasn't. There was one after Mrs. Holborn that had, this might be where your radiators come into play.
Right, okay.
Because she called a plumber in and he put a radiator on the wall, and the next day she rang him up and said, what are you doing in my house? You've broke all my radiators. So we went round there and all the radiators been pulled off the wall.
Okay.
So they went and found this plumber. Danny Robbins went to find this plumber, and he spoke. He said he went back 6 times to repair this radiator, but it pulled off the wall.
So that's poltergeist activity.
And yes, I get that. But how did he stop it?
No idea.
He used Phillips head screwdrivers. You know the Phillips ones?
Yeah.
Because of that.
Okay.
The cross. He said it sounded so stupid at the time. He said, I put the cross-shaped screw heads in because that's what he felt he could do. And funny enough, it stopped.
Weird.
Okay. So we're looking at that, and we're now seeing, I still don't think necessarily poltergeist, but you'd be looking if it's going along the lines of demonic, then it's listening, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's obviously had the detrimental effect of putting the crosses onto the radiators. It's worked.
Yeah.
So I get that. So they've crossed that. He said he just didn't understand it. Now, then, so bearing in mind, all their animals had died.
Yeah.
All their animals had died. So that must be quite horrendous. And if you're worried about this haunted house and your animal's dying, so they go out and buy a dog. They go out and buy another dog called Bo because they want company. Fair enough. Absolutely fine now. Bo begins to start becoming ill again. So they take him to the vet. Well, she takes him. Liz takes him to the vet. At this point, the husband, Bill, he's turned to alcoholism. He's drinking all hours God sends. And they go in there and she talks and she says, "What's the matter?" And Liz just breaks down in front of the vet. And then the vet says, "Oh, what's the matter?" So she tells him the story and she said, "I'm probably the biggest talk of the town. I own Hal Fanog." And she went, "I've been in that place." She said, "I used to look after the previous tenants' animals." She said it had a weird feeling. She said it had a weird feeling. And she said, "As all I remember is what sounded like kids running up the stairs and running across." So we've got two people now that have heard from a previous haunting to this haunting of the steps going across the top floor. And I think that is quite good comparison. You know, there's no records before time of this haunting. There's no record of it at all. So she couldn't have researched it.
No. I don't think it was built till 1956 by all accounts.
Pardon, sorry?
I don't think the farm was built till 1956 by all accounts.
I don't know. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. As and where it was put in time. I don't know.
Built in the 1950s.
So it's not old.
No.
It's not old.
But that doesn't necessarily matter because we know it's what we built on.
Exactly. One exorcism, so-called exorcism, come in with dowsing rods and clean the house via dowsing rods.
How'd you do that then?
Exactly. So one of your 14 exorcism was done by dowsing rods, mate. So when we're saying exorcism, I think we've got to use the word lightly here. There was only probably be one Christian priest that went in there.
I must say it was built in in an area which is said to have a history of witchcraft.
Yes.
So it's been built on that sort of land. But
there's a major story that runs, once again, not on that property location, but next door. Me personally, Kevin, on this question, I don't think you can get rid of a poltergeist unless your intentions are so pure and you agree with it and you put full of positive energy into it that you defeat it with positivity. I don't think it, for me personally, it's only my thought on this one, Kevin, that I don't think it works with priests. I don't think it works with, because I don't think it's religious. I think it's, if we're going along the demon side, then yeah, I can understand the religious aspect of it. But I don't think it is. I don't think it generally is. I just think it's an energy of some form, but I don't quite know where it sits.
No,
I think it overpowers everything. Yeah. I think it's an energy of something that is greater than a demon, right. And it just doesn't. And I think the only way you defeat it is by not necessarily accepting it, but dealing with it in a way that's so positive that it has no effect on you. Because people are living there now quite happily. People lived in it before quite happily. So it must be something to do with an energy on an energy that it's picked up. They must have had some form of flag, beacon, whatever you want to call for this energy to kick in. They must have sparked it. Well, there is reasons why. I'll try and get onto it as quickly as I can. So at this point, Bill is totally cuckoo. Okay, he's gone. He's an artist. He's drawing pictures after pictures after pictures.
That's what I remember.
They were all wrong.
Warped, yeah.
The next door neighbour, who spoke to him, issued him a commissioned piece of art for his favourite horse. And he drew the picture, and then within 3 weeks the horse was dead. So he got the blame for the killing the horse.
See, it does.
He got blamed for killing the horse, but
Yeah, that's.
no one knows how old the horse was. We could go along the lines of coincidence or not. I don't generally know. There was loads of questioning because they do, and this is what's so good with it. They do case files. He does 3 case files where people can email into the show what's their thoughts, and people's opinions and thought patterns are totally different to sometimes what I am. I'm thinking, well, I wouldn't have even thought of asking how old the horse was. My head would have just gone, you killed the horse. You killed it.
Yeah, but say the horse was 25.
Exactly. But that's what I'm saying. I would have never...
Right, couldn't it?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. And this is why I like the case files on this episode of that. Actually, if I was in that situation, probably investigating that house, that's something that I wouldn't have asked. I wouldn't have asked how old the horse was.
No.
But it's quite important when you look at it,
Yeah, it is.
because they're accusing, the next door neighbours accusing Bill and Liz of killing their horse through, haunted actions. So Bill is cuckoo now. He's gone. Okay. But this one of the gentlemen come in. He does his bit, and it does settle down. It feels nice. Bill gets a bit of work come in. Blah blah blah. And it all comes back again. Let's go with the first part of why this could have happened. Okay? So the farm next door has one of the most brutal murders that Brecon have ever witnessed. Okay? Two friends. They're good friends. One day they're working together on the farm, and one of the friends comes up and cuts his head open with an axe and doesn't stop.
Right.
Okay? Puts him in the dunghill, and the police are called. Blah, blah, blah. He gets arrested. I do believe he was hung, so we're going back quite a way. But he refused to talk. Not one in trial, anything, did he say a thing why he did it.
And this was the neighbouring farm.
Neighbouring farm. Okay, so
it could have been about the area then.
very much so. Then this is what this gentleman said. He come in and he told his story, and this is where it was, this is where it all sort of calmed after this. He come in, and the medium that come in give both names that are right, and he give the story of what happened. So, I think his name was Thomas. Who died was Thomas, and James was the one that hit him. All right. So Thomas was walking in the so-called woodland of Howe Fannock Farm, of where it was.
Right.
And he was supposed to be meeting a young lady, but she never turned up. So on his way back, he was walking back through the fields, back to where he was working, and he heard loads of chanting and loads of weird stuff. He pokes his head through the thing, sees witchcraft, and something not nice happened to this lady. Okay? We all can surmise what went on. They didn't go into detail, but we're looking at obviously witchcrafty sort of stuff. which was, quite strong back then. And in remote areas like Brecon, it wouldn't probably be seen. But he couldn't keep his mouth shut. He run back to the pub and he told everybody in the pub. Told everybody in the pub. And his friend was, I believe it was the owner of the farm. Okay? So the owner of the farm was involved in all this witchcrafty stuff on Hal Fanog's farm.
Right, okay.
Yeah? Does it all make sense?
Yeah, that could explain.
Right. So the owner of the farm told James that if he wants to live and his family to be safe, he has to kill James to shut him up. So that's what he did. He walked into work, killed him. Outright. Dead. And he was promised that he would get help from the owner of the farm when it went to trial, and that's why he never said anything. But he never got no help. Even to the day he was hung, he never said anything, still thinking that he was going to be saved by the people in question. But it never. So he was paid to shut him up. So there was this, and this was the story. There was two energies there that was lost.
Quite possibly, yeah.
And that's what he says. He sets them free and everything's okay.
Right.
But this is why, this is where my little bit comes in. Okay? Sounds very feasible. At this point, I was probably drawn into it. That would happen. Sounded good idea. But when you sort of listen to Liz, and she began to sort of accept it, and then Bill didn't. Bill couldn't accept it. Bill could not accept anything that was going on. His house was haunted. And it was getting him down. And he become mentally ill over it. He was drinking. He was proper ill. It had turned him ill.
Yeah.
And even though Hal Fanog farm never killed him per se, but the farm drove him to drink, depression, and alcoholism killed him in the end.
Yeah. Okay.
But that's not to say that the farm didn't play a part in that.
Right, so my question is, let's go away from that particular, let's just put that story to one side for a minute. So do you think my thoughts are a property holds an energy that can become poltergeist activity? A property, a place, a venue. And I've experienced it twice, certainly in one of the houses I've lived in, and I'm not going to mention where the house I lived in was, and that house was negative. And in fact, that could have pulled me down that same route, because the time I lived in that house was probably 6 or 7 years. It wasn't the case you could get out of it. But that house pulled me to an absolute point of negativity. Like, okay, so that's, I think it's probably the energy of the place is what I'm trying to say. I didn't have poltergeist activity in that house, but the energy it held was awful. Awful.
But I get that.
And people lived there before me, and people have lived there after me.
Yes, this is where I was. This is where my next point was going to be.
Okay.
You've not beat me to it, but now, Bill had a sordid past.
Yeah.
Okay, he had a real sordid past. Now, everyone's going to believe that obviously the name of the program is called Witch Farm because of the story I just told you.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. Not to say it had nothing to do with it, because I think it did have something to do with it. Now, Bill himself, when he was a youngster, and I do think it was in London, that's loosely, just when he was in university or wherever he was, college, he stayed with a very famous wizard or witch.
Right.
He was a witch himself, just not. I can't think of the name. But he did seances for famous people. I do think he had. He did everything. He was in the 60s. He was quite well known. I think he has something to do with the.
Flower power, man. Flower power. Drugs.
What was it? Highgate.
Oh, Highgate Cemetery.
I think there was something linked with him. Lander or Lavanda, or something like that. And when you Google this, I Googled it. I wished I brought a bit of paper home with me, but I left it on my desk at work. Yeah, he did. He was a very famous, and what he did is he stayed with him, and he taught him his ways. And he said Bill fell for how he could, power, his energy, how he could hold a room. If this Lenander bloke walked into a room, everything changed. He wanted that. So this bloke offered him that. He offered him this way. And that's what happened. He read the books. He practiced the occult. He practiced this way. But they called, and he said, then what we'll do is let's open the door for you. And that night, they got all the ceremony ready, or whatever you call it. And just as this Lamander said, I'm going to open the door, Bill went, no, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. But he said the door's already open. I don't want to do it. And he walked away. So he's now in limbo. Is he or isn't he a witch? Now, they questioned this Lamander, I'll try and get the name, his wife. She's still alive. And she remembers the case well. Because it's the only time that someone has said no at that point. Now, this is what I'm saying is what I think is what you was just saying is, yes, someone lived in your house prior, someone lives in there now. Someone lived in Helfanog before and now lives there now. So this person has gone in there with a beacon.
Yeah.
Unknowingly, because he said he'd swept it under the carpet. He'd buried that so deep. She didn't even know. Okay. She did not know what he did. His wife, Liz, did not know until within the last year of Helfanog.
Right, okay.
So, and this is what I'm saying. Was that the beacon? Was that the... And if you look at when the bloke was doing his dowsing rods, he did say that it was on ley lines, but there's dark ley lines.
Yeah.
And you only get dark ley lines when two ley lines converge. And Hal Vanog sits on or near the converge. Okay, so we've got that dark, of the land, Mother Nature, whatever you want to call it, is kicking back here. You know, if that's an entrance to a portal or anything like that, then it could be the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
could.
I believe, my genuine opinion is that yes, the property was haunted. Absolutely.
Still haunted?
Yeah. I think it was haunted before then. I think it was haunted now. And when I say the property, whatever's gone on there, I think is still there.
Right, okay.
Okay, I think if I was to go in there, I think you would feel the energy.
Yes.
And she never described, one thing they will say is they never said the energy was evil.
No.
They always said the energy was full of hate.
Yes. And I can agree with that, because that's how I used to feel in that house where I used to live.
And that's what I'm saying.
It wasn't evil. It was thick. If you can describe an
Yeah.
it was thick, and it was heavy, and it was, you couldn't smile, be yourself there. I couldn't be myself there. In that house, I could not be myself.
But then that's what this was. This is what I feel this whole story was about. I just think that Bill had gone in there because of he dabbled in what he had dabbled in. That makes him not a medium, but the spiritualism.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if it's bad or it doesn't matter if it's good. Where there's yin, there's yang.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
So it doesn't matter if he walks in there as a purist spiritualist or a dark matter. It's going to be a beacon on his head.
Yes.
So that energy in there has now picked up on that. Now, say if that energy was good. Say if that energy was pure good in that house.
Yeah.
Yeah? Nothing. All the time that the people...
Things would happen.
Yeah. But
that's what I'm saying. Things would still happen.
But, right, okay.
A good energy, because
Yeah.
I've got good energy here.
Yeah, but this is what I'm saying.
Still show itself and still do things.
No, yeah, but my point being is, say if this Helfanog farm is the most beautiful energy ever.
Yeah.
Okay. What does Bill bring in? Because he never dabbled in the light, he dabbled in the dark.
Yeah.
So what about, why can't it be the house defending itself against the dark?
I suppose it could. I don't know.
You know, and this is what I'm saying. I think the word poltergeist was used too much within it.
Yeah.
I think they didn't look at the aspects of mental health within it.
Yeah.
I know, I'm not saying within the program, because they do. And this is what is enlightening about this program. They look at everything. Was the house haunted? I would categorically put my money on it. It was haunted. And I just think it all spiraled out of control. So I just think they lived with it because they were coping. And I think money got so bad that potentially they could have sold out because they need money. Because one thing that Bill said, word quoted, that is, how do we find people to help us? We need to go public. Well, that in them times, this would have been...
What, the 80s?
Yeah. Late 80s, early 90s. Because they left in 96, I think they left. Or 95 or 96. I know that they left. And that bit, you know, worried me a tiny bit. Not worried me, but that made me think, if you're that embarrassed about it, why put it out in the Brecon Beacon Post, the most popular post within Brecon? And even the editor said, you know you're going to be ridiculed for this. You know this is going to happen, don't you? And then when it got it out, it made national newspapers, it made the television. So once again, has it paid for the debt And did it work? It's a question that I would have asked. But if you look at it, me logically thinking, okay, I live in this property that is driving you nuts, driving you absolutely berserk. It's so haunted. Animals are dying. Your hands are bleeding. You contemplate committing suicide over it. That's what Bill did. He contemplated. He went in one day, found a knife on the side, and he said, "I had this urge by the spirit to plant it against my neck and stab myself because it would all be over." Sounds desperate. Okay, so we are looking at all this horrendous stuff going on. We've got priests coming in blaming the son being possessed. We've got this. Why would you even contemplate getting pregnant and bringing up another child in that home if it was that evil?
Did they interview the children?
Yes.
And do they remember it?
I can't remember. No, I can't remember them interviewing Lawrence, but the youngest child, she was only 5. Well, she would have been 5 when she left there. So she was born. And she said it's all she remembers seeing is a few faces, but the thing that she remembered the most was seeing how her dad had changed. So is how I feel about it. There's a lot going on within there. Was the house haunted? Yes. Categorically, was it haunted? Yes. But I just think it was your neighbourhood Casper. And when, for example, you know,
so I still
there was.
I don't say it was your neighbourhood Casper.
I don't
say
think
it's haunted. I say it's haunted, but with what it was laying on, like a witch's land and witchcraft land, I think it might have been more
murder.
Yeah, murder. I think it may have been more than what we sort of normally class as spirit, perhaps. And it,
but this is
perhaps it had power to attack people that were weak. And I take it her husband was weak in that if he was drinking, and you know he was letting things into him by drink, wasn't he? Because you're not going to stop it.
Yes, no, exactly.
That's what I mean by weak. I don't mean he was a weak person. I don't mean that at all. But I mean he was weakened by drink, alcohol, drugs, whatever.
But there's little things that I could never make out. They send the son away because the priest tells them he's the problem. They send him away and he never comes back. He goes and lives in Brecon Town with friends. But it still carries on. Doesn't disappear.
Right,
but the son stays away. But so why bring another child into the world, into that property?
I don't know.
If it's that, that's what I'm saying. It just there's certain things.
I'm going to see if Kim can get hold of her and see if we can get her on the program. I
just feel that there was too much going on that not contradicted, because that's not what the word I'm looking for. But you would ask yourself. I would ask myself if I generally believe that all my animals have died due to this haunted, I would never bring another animal into the house until I left. It's just not.
That's
why would
isn't it? But perhaps somebody else would think, well, one of these animals is going to live. One of them will make it.
And I get that.
Yeah.
But if it was that goddamn evil or hated, I just don't. If you're making it out to be the poltergeist house and this, that, and the other, I don't think you would do it. And we're not talking. Let's be fair here, Simon. We're not talking about 2 or 3 animals. We're talking about dozens here of animals.
Yeah.
I just don't.
As you say, that could have, if it was affecting other farms, it was probably a poison that was going around. It probably was.
But they was convinced it was the haunted house doing that. there's things that you can't explain. The meter going around.
Yeah.
You know, the radiators coming off the wall. You can't explain that. But I think the mental side of things you can pretty much say. You know, there's just certain things that you just wouldn't do. Lots of people, there was lots of witnesses that come forward, which was good. Of course, it sounds horrendous. Of course, it sounds horrendous because
it probably was bloody horrendous.
Because I don't think they were attuned to what it was.
No. But
you know, no disrespect.
Gone along and said what it was. There must have been teams like we've got that could have gone along there.
But then that's what ended it, Simon. Someone telling the story.
Okay, I get it. Okay, well,
it was so.
I didn't live it, but
no,
you know,
but
I really can't say that.
But do you not feel that?
I think sometimes we jump on things and where it snowballs. I feel that, but in the same way, I think there's too many people trying to debunk situations as well. There seems to be a happy medium of.
But there never will be.
No, I know, and you know.
But if you listen to this BBC
I think
production, because I generally do feel, you know, I don't know. Obviously, I've never seen the program. I don't know if it had the actual people in it or not. I don't know if it was an adaptation, but
it didn't have them being interviewed, but actors played them.
So this is her speaking to you from, and yeah, at the beginning, she made it out. I don't sound it, but it did sound horrendous. Yeah. But it was only the descriptions of like, well, I get that if you don't understand it. And I would put it along the line if it was, you know, if my partner, my missus, was put into a haunted house and then she heard that run across, then that would then spiral out of control because I'd seeing her panic would have that knock-on effect.
Yeah.
And then that could make it be a lot worse than it is.
Yeah, I do get how it all snowballs. I do get that.
But this is what I'm saying. I think if you listen to it genuinely, listen to it, and you could listen to it in a week.
Yeah,
there's 8 episodes. They're only 30 minutes long.
Yeah. I definitely will. I started to listen the other day, and
it is really, really good. Yeah, of course, the production of it is brilliant as well because Danny Robbins is a great storyteller.
Brilliant. Yeah.
But this one, it does go into a lot of depth.
What was their outcome of it? You know, like they did the Battersea one, and I think at the end of that they concluded that, you know, Kieran was saying one thing, then the other.
We've got to wait to February for that.
Right. Okay.
Right. There's a special episode in February coming for that. Okay. Early February, so not too long to wait.
But I'll listen to it by then.
Yeah.
And I also did this week. I sort of looked at the Enfield one as well. I know we talked about Enfield last week, and you said that was the one that you would say was probably most of the faked one. What you thought was faked. And I got into that, and I got into reading stuff about Janet Hodgson. Now you're going back, right, to 1979, 77. I think it was 77 to 79. You're going back to. Now, back in them days, I was 17 years old, mate. Right?
Yeah.
It wasn't like today. It wasn't like a 17-year-old of today. I didn't have a mobile phone. You couldn't do this. And she was 11. And she admitted to one. They said, "Why did you prank?" And it's because she wanted to take it all away. That was a prank. But then they got policemen, reporters, parapsychologists in that couldn't explain it. That could not explain it. And yeah, okay, she faked one bit, but that tape that I sent you to listen to, what did you think of it? Have you listened to it? Because do you think an 11-year-old could make herself sound like that?
Should we listen
And
to
do
it?
you think back in those days that you would?
Should we listen to it? Do you think we can listen to it? I think we can
I
listen to
think
it.
we
So,
can listen to it. And
is all I'm go- is all I'm just. I'm gonna let. I don't know how long it's gonna last.
I think it's only about 5 minutes.
So I'm gonna have to take down my microphone. So just bear with me for a couple of minutes. I need to take that up. I need.
While we do that, we can ask the people's what they think.
Before we do it, there's a question coming in. Exorcisms tend to be religion based, like Catholicism. I think angry spirits would be made if they hated religion. I agree, and that's why I think a poltergeist fits outside both of our categories here. I really do. I think an exorcism is more demonic and cleansing of the energies that is religious based. Fallen angels trying to come to earth, blah blah blah, trying to the earth plane. Poltergeist just doesn't sit within any categories that I can place it. Because I don't think it has. It feels like you have to make peace with it. You have to accept it. You have to conjoin it. You have to, make that. Once they've moved on, it's ended. It's done.
Yeah,
so,
could be.
Right, here we go. Right, let's see if this works. Bear with us.
So this is a recording of apparently Bill talking through Janet Hodgson. And it's a real tape. It was taken by Morris, I think his name was.
Hello, my name's Morris. Let me hear you say it. Morris. Say Dr. Belloc. Come on, let me hear you say that. Come on, let's hear you say Dr. Belloc. Say Dr. Belloc. Now, if you squeak the bed, I can't hear you talking. Now, say Dr. Belloc. Come on. Come on, say it for me, Dr. Belloc. Dr. Belloc. Right, that's good. Alright. Shall I go do it? I'm going to do it now. I come from Jewish great job. And I have right in the church where we live. And all my friends come from there as well. And we all make a game and go to the club. And then we thought we'd be your house. Because I used to live here. And I will tell you the law. And if you don't get anyone else, just let Mr. Work and Mr. Blair. I want you to tell me whether you remember what happened to you when you died. Just before you died and just after you died. Days before I died, I went blind. Then I had an hemorrhage and I fell asleep and I died in a chair in the corner downstairs. Bill, if you're there, would you answer me the following question? What have you done with Denise's 30p? It's just a radio. That's it. Sorry, Bill. Can you say that again, please? It's just the radio downstairs. Right, Bill. I'll go and look. Thanks ever so much. Why can't Janet sue you? I'm invisible. You're invisible? Why are you invisible? So much G-H-O-S-T. Did any friends go with you? Yes, all of them. All the dogs, 68 dogs. So what do you got 68 dogs for? So they can protect me from you killing me. They can bite you right off. How can we kill you, Bill? You can shoot me off. Now how can we shoot you if we can't see you, Bill? By praying to God. Sorry, I didn't hear that, Bill. By praying to God. By praying to God. So, what you're saying is we can't get rid of you by praying to God? Yes.
That's when you look your own girl.
Well, yes, that is obviously blood curdling weird. Let's not beat around the bush.
And
It sounds horrific. Sounds very, very horrific.
so do you think that sound could have come from an 11-year-old girl? Do you think an 11-year-old girl could have duped that man's voice into her body? Because I think it would be very hard, personally.
I would like to try and get an 11-year-old girl to try it,
Okay.
and then make my call on it. Because I don't know, because for me it sounded like two different voices. The first part sounded different to the second part. I'm with Scott on this.
Yeah, don't forget that it would have been taken on a nothing like we record on now.
But I'm a little bit with Scott here. It sounds very demonic, rather than I would go along rather than demonic, and especially if it says with the power of prayer. With the power of prayer. So it's obviously offended with the power of prayer.
That could get rid of it.
That could get with it.
So a demon wouldn't tell you how you could get rid of it, would it?
No. But then, why would it even say that? And that's...
I don't know. Janet Hodgson's still alive. So Kim, if you're listening out there, I either want Elizabeth Rich or Janet Hodgson to come on this show, please.
We are legion. It's almost like she had many layers to her voice.
Yes.
Almost like many voices.
It's on YouTube, everybody, if you want to listen to it.
Yeah,
it's quite a scary listen.
It's on SoundCloud. It's all I did was Enfield Haunting. I'd like to get the dialogue of it, to be fair, because obviously some you can't work out what was actually being said. So I'd like to get the dialogue of what was actually fully said. But that being said, can I just get in the chat, how many of you did that make you think, I don't like that voice? Not to say it scared you, but did it give you the EBGBs? Did it make, when you first listened to that, did you think, oh my God, but she did me? I put my hands up, I think, bloody hell. If that's, that sounds horrific. I didn't like it, Scott. It sounded creepy. So I just want a few people in the chat. If you're listening, Facebook, YouTube, just pop it in the chat. When you was listening to that, how did that make you feel? Yes.
See, I went under it. I looked at it in a different way. Because I was looking at it, could an 11-year-old girl make her voice do that? That's...
Yeah, but this is, didn't like it. But, and yeah, even if an 11-year-old girl could make that sort of noise, she could be a great person to take to a Halloween party. See, look, a lot of people are putting horrible voice.
But
It gives you, but that would, it's blood curdling. That is horror film-esque. Now,
that's true though. That's a real recording taken by an investigator, such as Maurice Gross, such as there was parapsychologists there was the press there was policemen there when that recording in that room with that girl was taken.
Yeah, and I'm not denying that.
So if she's faked it, she's a bloody good fake.
Yeah, but it's all it is just some. It could potentially be an 11-year-old kid with a funny voice answering questions.
But she'd be like that all the time, though, wouldn't she?
What?
But they knew Janet. That Maurice Gross practically lived with Janet for a while.
Yeah, but how do we not know he wasn't in on it?
Yeah, but then you're not trusting him.
I am. You've only got to do it and make it sound funny. Now, obviously, I'm a man. I've got a deeper voice. I don't know how it works. I'd like to see if an 11-year-old girl could make a funny sounding, creepy ass thing. My point being is everybody here in the chat, yes, it was frightening. No way a young girl did that voice. That's everyone's got their right. What's he said? Watch the Conjuring film was about that house. They do the part with the girl speaking with the voices. It's even more creepier seeing it. Yeah.
Yes,
can you see her? Is what I would put if that to me that would have to be the second time around. That couldn't have been the first time that she'd done that. That'd have to be the second time around.
Why?
Because there's no way on God's green earth, if that 11-year-old girl started talking like that in that funny shit sort of thing, he's that calm. No way. No way. Hello. What's my name?
Yeah,
Morris.
But Russ.
I'm sorry. I don't care. I don't care who you are.
Look at the news and the broadcasters. They all used to broadcast in a different way. It was
but still,
this is BBC. It was definitely like it. It's not like
yeah, but still, it don't matter who you are. You're in a real life horror film. You're talking to a so-called poltergeist, demon, spirit, and he's talking in that tone. There was no fear in his voice. Now, if it was me, and that would happen,
this is what no fear in that voice.
Because that was too calm and collective. Too calm.
Yeah,
I would
he was doing his job, mate. He was doing his job. And
I would be doing my job, but you would hear fear in my voice because it's not the fact of that I'm talking to a demon. Not a problem. Put the demon in front of me, I'll talk to him. It's more the fact he's talking through an 11-year-old child.
Exactly.
And yeah, he's got no. How does he know that child isn't being injured or hurt or causing any harm at that point?
Because it's because they were called in to stop it. They probably didn't know how to stop it, Russ. We
still
didn't know how to stop it, would we?
But
how would you stop an 11-year-old child doing that? How would you?
I wouldn't have carried on questioning an 11-year-old child. And under no circumstances would I have questioned And if it was started to talk like that, under no circumstances would I have carried on. If it was you, fair enough. Because we do that. And this is what I'm saying. This had to be the second time.
I don't know.
Because I don't think you would be that. He would have had to heard that before. He would have had to, and this is what I'm saying. My judgment is, I don't necessarily look what's coming out of the person's mouth. Okay, to me, it was very biblical. It sounded, as soon as the prayer, I wrote it down, prayer, demonic, rather than poltergeist. That's where I went first and foremost. But let me see what just got. But when you want answers and you had the opportunity to talk to it, wouldn't you keep asking? I would be shitting myself. Exactly. That's my point. This is my point. He never showed fear. It's all he wanted to know was his name. I couldn't give a flying bejesus about my name. And it was too... Huh?
What do you
I
mean?
would...
He
It's all he said, what is my name?
What
is my name?
The person that was possessing that girl. All he knew back in those days was two teenage girls were being overtaken by an energy that was going within them.
I get all that.
He was probably doing his job. That's what I'm saying to you. He was getting answers. Yes. And I think you would do the same. I think you would do the same.
If it was a normal girl's voice, fine. But if it got going creepy like that, there was no fear in that man's voice. Right. Now, there was no fear. So this is what... No, I'm not saying that's unreal. That's not what I'm saying.
What I'm saying to you is, somebody called you up, somebody calls us up and says, my daughter is talking in a tongue that I don't understand. He's talking in a tongue that's coming out. I need to get to the bottom of it, Russ. I need to get to the bottom of it, Simon. You need to help me. I really, really want your help.
I know what I would do.
What would you do?
I would never put an 11-year-old girl on that spot. Never.
Okay, so you get that. You get a call. We'll put it another way. You get a call and they tell you it's happening now. Get there. You get there.
The first thing I would do, I don't want to use the word, but I would be removing that spirit from that child.
Right.
Straight away.
Okay.
That is the first thing. I would never be putting, and this is what I'm saying. That's too, and this is what I'm saying. He was, me personally, and I'm not saying that's fake footage. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that he's heard her speak like that before.
Perhaps he has.
And this is what I'm saying. That was too... And there may be more footage of it. He may have seen that and expected that.
Yes,
but
he could have done. I'm not sure.
If there was any other people in there that saw that, they would have... He was expecting that voice. He was too calm. He was too collective. That, if that was the first time, then all he wanted to hear was his own name. Nah. I'd want to know his name. If you're pushing me to virtually not, I'm not saying kill an 11-year-old kid, because that's not what he was doing, but I would just not allow that questioning unless I'd been there before and it had happened in front of me before.
Well, it probably had happened. He lived with that.
Would it not be him just wanting to show its fear? But I don't think you would hide it. I don't think you could hide it. I generally don't think you could hide that fear. You've got an 11-year-old girl speaking in some really strange voice in front of you. And, okay, maybe not back in them days that you'd get... if that happened, I'm sitting there, and that happened, I'd be like, shit. That'd be the first word out of my mouth. Of course I'd show fear, if you're an exorcist from the priest, they're told not, they're trained in it not to show fear, not to do it, which, you know, fine. But it doesn't matter. You know, I've been investigating for what, 20 plus years now. And there's still things at that instant when it happens, you go, oh my God, because it's happened. It's that moment. And it doesn't matter how, you know, not to say, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not to say that it's freaked me out. It's me because I wasn't expecting it. And we see things. I've seen things. We've had things thrown at us. We've had stones being hit on the top of the top of the roof. And it's like, yeah, the first time was, holy crap, what was that? And it happened again. It's a stone hitting the top of the car. Who's throwing it? Now, it's happened. Even though we're not showing fear, we're not calm.
No,
and we've probably had it enough
I don't
times.
think anybody would be calm in that situation.
Exactly. His voice was too calm.
But perhaps he's done it 3 or 4 times. So
That's
perhaps he had the stones hitting the car. Perhaps he'd already heard that. Perhaps he'd already heard that voice through her.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a tiny bit skeptical of it. I'm not to say that it's not to say I don't not believe it, because once again, I my belief now is that these so-called hauntings are very much put out of proportion at the time.
Yeah.
And they're just potentially negative hauntings. And
but I don't think that was, well, it was talking through the children, it was lifting them up in the air, it did all that sort of thing, if you believe everything now. If you believe everything now. But he died in the house, didn't he? That's the story. He actually died in that house.
Yeah, but my question, yeah, okay. The ending goes, he died in the house. So then that is an earthbound spirit that's lived and died.
Yeah.
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 So is what they're trying to put on to me. Their opinion is that a poltergeist is an earthbound spirit, just with a negative energy.
I've got no idea. I've got no idea. I don't know what poltergeist is. I don't know. I wish I know. I wish I could answer, but I don't know.
A naughty spirit, a noisy spirit is your plain simple, like. But is what I just don't understand. I think the Hal Vanog one for me is more less fancier, same sort of thing.
Yeah.
Because of the Enfield haunting effect.
Right.
I think the Enfield haunting, there was something there. I generally believe that. I do think the place, you look at it, the place has got a strange vibe about it, looking at it. Do I think it done everything to them children? No. I think there was a lot of other trickery going on. I don't necessarily, I'm not 100%.
The trickery in those days was a lot harder than it is these days. These days you could trick people. Those days, there was nothing to trick people with. I went back and thought, what did I have back in 77 that I could trick people with? There wasn't. There really wasn't. You could have left a tape recorder.
Yeah, but you could do double exposures, can't you, and things like that.
Yeah.
There's always, but even the voiceover things there. What, have we got any pictures of the levitation?
I don't know, mate.
we've got people telling us about levitation.
I don't know.
The picture that we see of her jumping is her jumping. What's she jumping at? I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm not. I just feel there's a lot more. There's a lot more, not wrongdoing, because I don't know what word I'm trying to use. I think the Enfield haunting is a lot less believable because she said she did things to make it sound better, or whatever. I think that is enough.
She faked one thing,
but I think that's enough.
Back. I don't know what it was, but I don't.
But I think
stop it at school. I think it was something to do with school. So.
But I think that in itself is enough to realise that potentially could have done more.
Maybe.
And tricked them all. Maybe. I don't know. What's this one? After reading the original Conjuring books by Andrea Perron and saw how much they twisted and changed that, I take the Conjuring films with a massive pinch of salt. Would love to hear the first account of the Enfield tool and the actual history.
We are going to try and get Janet Hodgson on the show, if possible, Steph. That's what we're going to try and do. And also, I'd like to have Liz Rich on the show. I'd love, if they come on, they agree to come on, we can put them questions to them.
The thing is, I Googled, when I was Googling, Simon sent me an early text message about the sounds. Can we get the sounds played? So, yeah, and if you Google that, there is quite a few videos. There is a documentary with a BBC documentary with the two sisters talking to you, and asking everything on there. It's on. There is an actual account. I think it's about a 35-minute documentary when they were young. When that was just after it had all happened and when they were going through it. So it's all there. Steph, if you want to have a look at that, if you just go out there and have a Google, it is there. It is there, their actual account. I don't know. There's just something a little bit doesn't fit. It's my gut. It's my gut with the Enfield. That if someone just tells me, I just think if you've got enough to say, if you've got the balls to say something about a fake something, I don't see how. My brain doesn't allow me to go forward with.
No, I think you're thinking that she come out with, I fake it. It wasn't like that. It wasn't done like that. You need to. You need to look at the reasons why it was done.
Yeah, but even if let me put it as an situation with me. Like, say if I said, I faked that one bit just to make it look good. Then that's the whole reputation of Essex Ghost Hunters down the drain, because everything would be questioned on something because I used the word fake. It doesn't matter what I was doing to justify it. It just.
You're a 40-year-old man. This was an 11-year-old girl.
Yeah, but you don't know what she was being told by the mother.
Hopefully she will agree to come on the show. We can. You can.
Well, probably after, if she ever looks at this interview, she'll probably never come on because then I've ripped her saying she's a fake. So, but I'm not saying that. That's not what I'm saying. She could have. An 11-year-old girl will do anything they mother say. If they're scratching around, this was, at what point do when we talk about, look at, Derek Acora for a stance. You get to a point where, that fame becomes, he has to keep that appearance up. Now, wrongly or rightly, if he did fake anything or he got caught out, whatever, he had to keep that appearance up at some point because he couldn't be all the way to this high ability. Now, how far have they gone down the road that they've got to keep it up?
Yeah, well, we hopefully, Kim's pretty good at getting people. I really hope she comes on and tells us the full story, because that would be brilliant. It would be absolutely brilliant. I would love it. Absolutely love it, because I really would like to hear it from her point of view and actually what happened. Because as you say, as Steph said, you look at the country and they film it all, and probably The Conjuring 2 has probably done the same. It's probably glancing. I mean, it's got to, hasn't it? But to actually hear it from her perspective would be brilliant. I'd love to get her on, but whether she come on, I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't really seen too much of her on anything, but I said when we was talking about it, he said if we have a little YouTube, she does do interviews, so hopefully that there's a good chance that she would come on.
Yeah, and just tell us what it was all about. I'd love to hear.
Yeah, I'd give her the
people in the house now, but I don't know if you would. And I wonder, what took that all away? Was it Ed and Lorraine Warren?
It never stopped after that, though, did it?
Yeah, I think it did. I think it did. I think it did something.
Yeah, I don't really know too much because of.
Yeah, I think it did. It stopped after that. It did. Yeah, it did. And I think they got all the credit for it, but something like that.
It could be many things. It could be many things. I remember watching. There was a ITV documentary on or the BBC.
There's a spoof one, didn't they?
Not a spoof one, but they did a sort of a reenactment of it, didn't they?
Yeah.
It was serious.
Timothy Spall played Morris.
Yeah. It was serious. It wasn't a piss take on the actual event. No. They tried to keep it, and that was quite enlightening.
Yes, it was.
I just don't get. I suppose it's my head. But I just don't know why these people need to get the media involved. I don't see it. I don't see why.
But I don't think it was a family got involved. I think it was it was a reporter that got. It was a reporter that made it go viral back in those days, as you'd call it.
Yeah.
I don't think it was actually the family that did it. And I don't think they got very much. I don't think they got any money out of it, to be honest. But I may be wrong. I could be wrong.
I would. Would that be one of the things that we would ever? Would we ever find out? I don't think we'd ever find that out.
No, probably not.
I think that's something that you'd never get out of them. Full stop.
The Battersea Poltergeist. I don't think that was done for money, was it?
No, but I think that was quite a nice story.
Yeah, but again, it was.
And it was a hidden gem.
Yeah.
Do you know she never went to the papers.
No, that's what I'm saying. It
and back, she just kept it within the gentleman that helped her. And then Danny picked that one up later on down the line. Yeah. The Enfield haunting was, it was in Sun newspaper, this newspaper on the news. There was news vans outside. As you say, there was people going in there daily to do interviews with the demon or the poltergeist. So, for me, oh, you on the WhatsApp chat? Hold on, my son sent me a WhatsApp chat. Yeah, I am on WhatsApp. If anyone wants to send me a WhatsApp, you can do. So, all right. No, that was the 20th. So that was last week. If we are on WhatsApp, so if you WhatsApp me on that number, then we're on that number. So if you wanna call in. If you want to call in, I can put you live on air, Kev, and you can have a chat with us. I can definitely do that. I've never tried it, but it can happen. if you want to, if you want to see real fear, that would probably really fear me. To be fair, that would make me creep out because it would never have happened before. But no, I just don't know. I don't know. No. Oh, we have an incoming call. Right, so bear with me a minute. Hello, welcome to the EGH Paranormal Talk Show. Who am I speaking to?
This is Kev.
Hello there, Kev. How are we doing, my friend?
All right, yeah.
Sorry, my first time on. It's been really interesting, and I've loved the subject as well.
It's been really cool tonight.
Thank you.
I'm sitting here drinking a ghost ship. Yeah, I think with that particular case, Hollywood's not done it any favours really with some of the films. I think they kind of glamorised it and turned it into something they can use to make money.
Yes.
When the original case was actually very serious and sort of, I think what Simon was saying, if you go back to the time when it actually happened, there wasn't that media interest as such. There was a newspaper that did a report, but it was kept quite low key. And as the years have gone on, it's grown and grown and grown, and now it's become a film, Hollywood, multi-million pound, you know, and it almost takes away from how important that case was at the beginning.
Yeah.
No, I do get that. I really do get that. Hollywood has a lot to play with over time, to be fair.
Yeah.
And that's the sad thing with Hollywood.
Yeah.
It's true how it has an effect. I mean, it's not quite the same, but there was a thing in the week, I saw a report, Steven Spielberg was talking about how after he made Jaws, what a negative effect it had on the great white shark, which was not as dangerous as such a bad thing as it was portrayed in the film, but it caused huge sort of backlash against it when there was lots of people trying to, you know, do conservation work to save it. And it's interesting. I think, you know, a lot of the time these films and programs can actually do a lot of harm.
Oh, massively. I totally agree with you with that one, Kev. I think it does a lot of harm rather than good.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think certainly listening to that voice, I've heard that before. There's definitely something more going on there, I think, than just a young girl pretending. I just listen to it, and there's like layers in that voice, like there's multiple voices.
It's creepy.
Very. I know a lot of demonic possession. They often talk about ones I've read about this. That's why I said we are legion, because in the Bible, when Christ sends a demon into some pigs, they turn round and say to him, "We are legion," because meaning we are many. And it's like you can hear that in their voices. It's like multiple voices all speaking at once. So I think there's something in that.
The thing that when you listen to that, and when I sit here and listen to that, it is blood curdling.
Yeah.
It makes you shudder. Now, if she's doing it on purpose or, you know, not on purpose, it doesn't matter. It makes you cringe with absolute. I was sitting there with the hair's gone up on my, because you know, you think this is coming. You know, it's just not a nice sound coming out of that. And I get that. You know, when we talk about the demonic, we talk about the hierarchy and their legions and things like that, and it does make sense. That's a really good point that you've made there, Kev.
Yeah, I think, and they always say that a lot of poltergeist cases I've read about are often associated with adolescent children.
Yes.
Because there's a belief, I can't remember who it was it Aleister Crowley or someone like that, wrote about how angry spirits need a lot more energy. So, and adolescent children going from being a child to an adult have a huge amount of spiritual energy, and they draw on that particularly. So they target the younger people in the family.
Can I ask you the question, Kev? What is your take on a poltergeist? Where do you think that fits within the spiritual realm?
Well, I mean, it's a German word, isn't it? I think it means angry spirit. So I believe that if someone, I spoke with Simon about this the other day in the shop. I just think if someone's a very angry person in life, for a period of time when they pass over, they're still angry. And that spirit, I think that particular one, that haunting, the Enfield one, the old guy had died in a chair downstairs, hadn't he?
Yeah, and been
And
left
he
quite
wasn't happy about the fact that someone else was living in his house. It was like, whoa, what's going on here? This is my home, and I'm not having these kids running around. And so I've had experiences myself of these things. I have had some poltergeist experiences, and I just think there's always a sadness associated with it as well. It's not always just about being angry. I think they're just very sad and need help and need guidance and need to be told it's okay, you can move on or do what you need to do. But that's a different thing to demons. Demonic energy is a whole different thing.
Hollywood's made it demonic. I think Hollywood's made it demonic.
Yes. Again, I think, look at how many films there are now. Paranormal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. There's so many films out there, Ouija board films, and they're making millions out of it. And in a way, it's sad because it takes away from the seriousness. You lose that people like yourselves who are taking it seriously and doing proper investigation and looking at it objectively. Along comes a film and everyone says, oh yeah, it's all like,
Right.
I went to see that, it's amazing, oh my God,
Well, one of the biggest ones within the sort of the demonic, these people that deal with the demonologists and people like that, is what they've noticed over the sort of last 5 years, that the word Zozo has played a massive part within the demonic, and it all come from the film.
Yeah.
And now everyone's having demonic possessions of Zozo in their house.
Yeah, I can believe that. I think energy, my personal belief, because I've got a background in witchcraft and Wicca, and the one thing I do know, I think, is that it is all just energy of a different form. And just because we're living, our energy is capable of manifesting huge things just by believing in them. There was the cases of the Slender Man, which was a meme or something that was online, and that's become, people claim to have seen him, and been haunted by it and things. So
the big tall man, isn't it, with the white head and the hands, and in a black suit. Yeah,
you probably don't remember it.
Serious cases of people being terrorised by him.
Remember the Sandyman Paul?
Pardon?
Remember that? Sandyman Paul advert.
Yeah, that's what they based it on.
What it is. Going back now, Russ.
Yeah. You're showing your age, Simon, on that one, because I haven't got a clue what you're talking about.
Right, well, I'm going to go now. Have another beer and let someone have a chat.
Thank you ever so much for your call anyway, Kev. It's absolutely brilliant. And thank you ever so much, and hopefully see you in the shop soon.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Okay, then. Thank you for your call. Take care and have a good evening.
Bye-bye.
Enjoy your beer.
Cheers.
Well, thank you there, Kevin, for your call. That's lovely. So we know it works.
It works.
We know that works. So if you do want to call in, you can call in. It's lovely that you've got this ability for you. If you have an opinion, please call in. Don't be frightened. We don't bite people's heads off. It's an opinion. And how many times do we say this? There is no wrong or right within the paranormal.
No, there isn't.
There isn't, because we can't prove it. We cannot prove the wrong or right.
And it's good in a way that we although we do agree in most things, there's some things we don't agree.
But that's what makes it special.
Yeah, it is.
That's what makes this
There's a
field
lot of things
so
we agree
special.
on, but there is things that we don't agree on.
But that's what makes it so.
Yeah, it's good.
This field is so special, and we talk about Hollywood that has turned the paranormal upside down, but also the world of social media has turned the paranormal up and down because everyone is an expert and no one's an expert.
No.
Or if you read all these people, well, I've worked in the field for this, so I know about this. No, you don't. So what?
No,
So
you
what?
don't.
Where's the proof of it? That's right. Your theory is right because you got told by some great late great granny. That's actually practiced it. Yeah. So what? But it doesn't mean it's right. It's an opinion. The paranormal world is an opinion. That's all it is.
And it's a brilliant place to work on. It's a brilliant field to be in. I love it.
You know, you think like, just, you know, on this, just like where we look at how broad this spectrum is, okay? So for any of you that don't know, that I do another show on Pulse Talk Radio and on Facebook called Journey Through the Unexplained. A little bit more deeper than this. But last night we touched on the subject of genetic mutation, and a conspiracy at the moment is that we are being evolved or de-evolved into tall greys. Cut a long story short, and we know that because we've had a tall grey come back from the future to tell us. Okay, so he's in the future. So what? Just putting this out there to end your night on, so you all go to sleep on this theory. What is if it's not actually the dead we're talking to? What happens if it is just the future us that we are talking to? Because they've lived our life. They've seen our life. So the message we get from what we called spirit may just be the future us.
Yeah, good well,
because they know what's gone on and what's not gone on. Because they're from the future.
Who knows?
Who knows? And this is what's so good about this whole thing. The paranormal. The paranormal isn't a thing that you'll ever get an answer on.
No.
It isn't, is it? It's not.
You can't. No.
You can't get an answer to it.
No.
You can put your answers to it, and if it's a belief that fits right with you,
that's it. If it fits with you, you go
for it.
Yes.
Because it doesn't. 9 times out of 10, I'll start here. Simon starts there. He'll go his way. I'll go my way. And at the end, we're back to the same point, dealt with. 2 different directions.
Yeah.
So, right, so, why can't you finish on a nice, cute puppy so we can get some sleep tonight? Just my opinion. Well, Sandra, sleep well. All right?
Not puppies, Sandra.
I'll play you that creepy voice from that Janice again. You know, good job I played that halfway through the show rather than the full way through the show, because I don't think anyone will be sleeping too much on that one, to be fair.
I might change it for my ringtone.
That's freaky enough. That is freaky enough. But no, let's start rounding up the show tonight, guys. Thank you for everyone that has joined us, commented, kept along with the conversation. Thanks for Kev for our first ever caller into the EGH Paranormal Talk Show. Collect your prize from the shop next week, Kev. All right. But no, thank you ever so much. And just, you know, be aware, guys, that you can text in, call in if you're brave enough. You know, if you've got an opinion that you think you're so strongly about and you don't agree with ours, call up. We're not going to put you wrong because I can't put you wrong. I'm a strong believer in that. Because I have my thought. And to be fair, Kevin has sort of changed my thought on the poltergeist thing. Maybe it's something that we're putting out of context. You know, more questions. And after the EGH talk show, we now leave questioning to our own sanity and thinking to ourselves, guided meditation. Cheers, great as always. No, you've all been great. Once again, shameless plugs. Remember, I'm on every Thursday at 8 o'clock on Pulse Talk Radio, Facebook, Journey Through the Unexplained, with the more deeper in look into conspiracy theories, aliens, and this, that, and the other. we're here every Friday night on the EGH Paranormal Talk Show that's a little bit more light-hearted, talking about Enfield and all things paranormal, ghosty and spooky. But if you do want to come in and talk to us face-to-face, Simon is there every weekday, apart from Sundays and Mondays. We are open between 10 p.m. and about 3:30 every day on them days. So if you want to pop in, we are at White Elm Garden Centre in Bicknaker in Malden, CM34LR. So that is CM34LR. Just come to Cyrus Spiritual Connections. And if you want to have a look at the shop and can't get to us, go to www.si-russ.co.uk. So it's www.cyrus.co.uk, but in between the Cy and the Russ is a dash. Whatever you call it. Hyphen, is it? Is that the proper word? The future is just a blink of an eye. I believe we co-assist along our past and our future selves. What a great comment to end the shows. But I want to say thank you to everyone that has joined us.
Thank you.
It's been a great conversation.
Yeah.
A little bit more, a little bit more structured because I'd actually listened to the podcast, which was, which actually helped. And honestly, guys, Danny Robbins, the Witch Farm BBC iPlayer sounds or whatever it is, awesome. Anything
Danny Robbins does is actually pretty good.
And I say that he's a great storyteller. That's his production and where it is great.
Yeah.
So I'm going to love and leave you guys. Take care, stay safe, and keep ghost hunting.
Yeah.
All right. Take care, everybody. Stay safe.
Right.
Everybody, Pulse Talk Radio will be back next week. Take care. Love you all. Thank you to everybody that has joined us on YouTube and Facebook. You guys are absolutely spot on. Thank you ever so much. Take care, and we'll hopefully all see you next week. Bye, everybody.